Welcome to this session on research methodology. Today, we are diving into a fundamental pillar of academic writing, bibliography and references. If you have ever wondered how researchers keep track of the vast amount of information they use or how they prove their claims are valid, you are in the right place. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to credit the brilliant minds whose work supports your own research. Let us start with a simple analogy. Imagine you are building a magnificent house, and everyone who visits is amazed by the beautiful windows, the sturdy bricks, and the elegant roof. Naturally, they will ask you where you bought these amazing materials, so they can use them too. If you kept a detailed list of every supplier, store, and craftsman who helped you, you could easily share that information. In the world of academic research, your research paper or thesis is that magnificent house, and the ideas, data, and quotes you use are your building materials. Now that we understand the basic idea of a supplier list, let us look at its formal academic equivalent. A reference list is a structured, alphabetical compilation of all the specific sources you directly cited within the text of your research document. This means if you quoted an author or paraphrased their specific data, their work must appear here. It is placed at the very end of your research report, thesis, or dissertation. By providing this list, you are formally acknowledging the intellectual property of other researchers and showing exactly whose shoulders you are standing on. While a reference list is strictly for cited works, this brings us to a slightly broader term, the bibliography. A bibliography includes all the sources you cited, plus any other books, articles, or materials you read and consulted to form your ideas, even if you did not directly quote them in your paper. Think of it as the complete record of your background reading. Understanding the distinction between a reference list and a bibliography is crucial, as it ensures you meet the exact requirements set by your university or your publisher. You might wonder why we must be so incredibly strict about listing our sources. The most critical reason is to avoid plagiarism, which is the severe academic offense of stealing someone else's work and presenting it as your own. Furthermore, references build your credibility as a researcher. When readers see that you have consulted high-quality, peer-reviewed sources, they are much more likely to trust your findings. It also creates a clear trail of evidence, allowing future researchers to verify your claims. Without this standardized system, human knowledge would be a chaotic mess, and scientific progress would halt. To make referencing easier to grasp, we can think of a citation as a structural equation. The total reference entry, R, is the sum of its critical components. Let us break down these variables. The variable A represents the author or authors, giving them primary credit. The variable Y is the exact year of publication, telling the reader how recent the information is. The variable T is the title of the specific piece of work. Finally, the variable S represents the source details, such as the publisher name or journal volume. If any variable is missing, the equation is incomplete, and the reader cannot locate the document. Now that we have our formula, let us see this with a concrete example. Suppose you read a textbook called Research Methodology, written by C.R. Kotari, published in the year 2009 by New Age International. We need to create a formal reference list entry for this book. Our strategy is to identify the values for each variable in our reference formula: author, year, title, and source details. We then arrange them strictly according to formatting rules. The final result gives any reader the exact information they need to find this specific book in a library. Let us break down exactly how we applied the formula to get that final result. We start by setting up the author variable, A. In standard academic formatting, we put the author's last name first, which is Kotari, followed by a comma and the initials CR to give proper credit. Next, we move to the publication year variable, Y. We take the year 2009 and place it inside parentheses, immediately followed by a period. This step-by-step punctuation is crucial because it separates the variables clearly for the reader. Continuing our derivation, we now look at the title variable, T. We write out research methodology, and in actual academic formatting, this book title would be italicized to make it stand out. Finally, we provide the source detail variable, S, which for a book is simply the publisher's name. Here, it is New Age International, and we end the entire entry with a period. By adding these components together, author, year, title, and source, we have successfully proven how the structural equation builds a perfectly formatted book reference. Since we have mastered books, let us apply our formula to a scientific paper from an academic journal, a very common task in research. We are citing an article titled The Basics of Data Collection, written by N. Walleman in 2011. It was published in the Journal of Research Methods, specifically in Volume 5, Issue 2, on pages 15 to 30. We must apply our citation equation again, but journal articles require a slightly different application of our source details variable because journals are published periodically. Let us look at the final formatted answer. Let us unpack the reasoning behind this journal citation step by step. We again start with the author variable, formatting it as Walleman N, followed by the year, 2011, in parentheses. This matches our book formula perfectly. However, notice the title variable. For a journal article, the title of the article itself, The Basics of Data Collection, is written in plain text, not italics. This is a key distinction. The article is just a small part of a larger container, and standard formatting rules treat the container differently than the item inside it. Now we finalize the derivation by constructing the source details variable, S, which is more complex for journals. We write the title of the journal, Journal of Research Methods, and italicize it along with the volume number, 5, because the journal is the broader container. The issue number, 2, is placed in parentheses immediately after the volume with no space. Finally, the page range, 15 to 30, tells the reader exactly where to look within that specific issue. This proves how our reference formula adapts depending on the type of source material, acting as precise GPS coordinates. To visually reinforce what we just proved, let us look at this diagram showing the anatomy of a reference. You can see our journal citation at the top. Notice the arrows pointing from the labeled boxes below. The first box highlights the author, followed by the publication year in parentheses. Next is the article title in plain text. Then we see the journal name, which acts as the container. Finally, the last box points to the volume, issue, and page numbers. This schematic perfectly illustrates how each distinct variable maps directly onto the final formatted text. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the most important ideas. First, a bibliography, or reference list, is the essential anchor that connects your new research to the existing body of human knowledge. By meticulously recording the author, year, title, and source details, you protect yourself from plagiarism and build immense credibility. We also saw how this structural formula adapts seamlessly, whether you are citing a massive textbook or a brief journal article. Mastering this skill is a milestone. It transforms you from a mere writer into a trustworthy, rigorous academic researcher.